Welcome to Talking Bengals, a Bengals site made by the fans for the fans. Check out Talking Bengals on Buzzsprout, iTunes, and Google Play, and follow Talking Bengals on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Talking Bengals. Now, let's join the conversation. Hello, Houday Nation, and welcome to the latest edition of Talking Bengals. It's episode 37. Should be a great one tonight, coming off a big win against, well, big I say, but it's really a predictable win against Cleveland. But we won't get too much into that yet until I introduce my trusty co-host, as always. Nick, how you doing?
We're doing all right, Casey. How about yourself, brother?
Well, can't complain too much. Got a move coming up. Got Christmas coming up. Got a lot of things going on. So, trying to stuff 30 pounds of crap into a 2-pound bag like usual. But, hey, it could be worse. At least we got a win on Sunday. So, speaking of that win, it was the Browns, so we don't want to go too far into it. But there was a lot of things I like to see. And I know we discussed a little bit previously, so I won't touch on your subject and your guy too much. But I thought, Dalton looked comfortable in the pocket most of the time. He didn't seem rushed. He got in a good rhythm. So I think that's good news as far as the quarterback situation goes, is, Dalton's actually starting to look like a decent quarterback again. But it was the Browns. So with that being said, what were your thoughts on the Bengals-Browns game?
I mean, for me personally, it's seeing Mixon get more touches. Keep on giving Mixon the touches. Just plain and simple, he's an athlete. You give your star athlete good, solid playing time. You give A.J. Green good, solid playing time. You throw the ball to A.J. Green, a fair amount of time. Give Joe Mixon the ball. You drafted this guy. You put a lot of money into him. He's got the talent until he does something stupid off the field. Keep giving him the ball. Use him. Geez, oh Pete. Gio is, all fine and dandy, great. Give him the ball every once in a while. But Jeremy Hill needs to be phased. He
must be the happiest guy ever that Jeremy Hill's on the injured reserve.
Jeremy Hill needs to be phased out and just traded. He doesn't have a role here anymore. Joe Mixon does exactly what Jeremy Hill did, except for Joe Mixon, he has a plus side. He can catch a ball. He can catch it. He can go out to the flats and catch it, or he can catch a little swing route. He can catch the ball, Casey.
Well, my favorite part about Mixon is he doesn't just run 2 yards, hit a lineman, and fall. He actually tries to, make something happen, and he does make stuff happen. He's exactly the running back the Bengals need. He's a guy that can get the crunch yardage up close, but he's not just barely getting it by an inch. He's getting it by 2 or 3 yards, and he can just break a play. You get him the ball, like we talked about at the beginning of the season, he's the best of Gio and what Jeremy Hill brought to the table. Gio's always going to have a spot on the Bengals because he's just a playmaker, and, he's a guy you can put in there, and he can always just bust one when nobody's expecting him to. But Mixon is a true workhorse. The closest comparison I can make to Mixon, and he wasn't as good out of the backfield catching the ball, would be like a Corey Dillon was the last running back that's comparable to Mixon, in my opinion. Just can you keep giving him the ball, keep giving him the ball, keep giving him the ball, and he's just going to get better and better and better. And he's a young guy. He's getting some playing time now. And I feel like the more reps he gets, the more plays you give to him, he's going to be a better performer, which makes me wonder about our other top draft pick, the first-round guy that I'm not even sure if he's still around. I actually read a tweet earlier this week from one of the other Bengals sites, and it said, Google thinks that John Ross is a dead chemist. So that should tell you how little he's done in his NFL career. You got any thoughts on John Ross?
Wrong button. John Ross, he needs to get on the field, man. We've put all this money into him. The team has put all this money into him. The fans have, heard, he's so fast. He's a good receiver. He's so fast. Well, let's see it. I haven't even seen the guy on the field, much less seen him play. Geez, Pete. We can get Joe Mixon out on the field. We can get A.J. Green out on the field. And get Gio back. Heck, Jeremy Hill might even be back before John Ross gets back. Jeez, Pete.
Your boy Josh Malone almost had a great one-handed catch when he was being pass interfered until, he got that helmet-to-helmet contact, which for some reason, I forget which announcer it was, but they were not happy that was a penalty. He's like, well, you hit him in the chest. I'm like, so your chin is now connected to your chest. I don't know. From what I could see, his shoulder hit the guy's shoulder, but his helmet hit under his chin, and that's helmet-to-helmet contact last time I checked. I don't know. I'm not an NFL official. But yeah, Ross is like on the depth chart right now. He is probably dead last. He's at the very bottom. You got Green, then LaFell, who's been contributing more lately, Alex Erickson, then Josh Malone, then Tyler Boyd, then John Ross. So your two big like receiver draft picks and Boyd and Ross. Oh, I forgot Cody Core. He's really a special teamer. He's number 7. He's not done crap on offense. But your two big wide receiver draft picks the last 2 years with Boyd and Ross aren't really contributing much. It was nice to see Boyd get a touchdown this week. That was good. But and he made another good third down play. But is he only here for the last couple weeks of the season like he was last year? He's got to make an impact earlier on. And that's something I think hurt this Bengals offense all year is these young receivers who are supposed to be their future guys aren't stepping up. John Ross, like I said, the only play I remember him having all year was a reverse that turned into a fumble. So I think he's not lived up to the hype at all. And if he doesn't make something happen the rest of this year or early next year, he's going to go down as one of the biggest draft busts at the wide receiver spot of all time. I mean, if he's fast, put him in on kick return, punt return, something. Use him in some capacity to help your team win. You got old man Jones out there catching punts and running them back for touchdowns on phantom holding calls or blocks in the back. So you're telling me this fast kid can't make anything happen? He's got to make some kind of impact on the team this year. They need more playmakers, and he's a quote-unquote playmaker from what everybody talks about him. But he needs to get on the field. So like I said, good win against Cleveland, but I don't know if there's anything else. I know I don't want to talk about Cleveland anymore. Nick, you got anything?
No, I think the horse has already been beaten dead.
Yeah, let's not continue to beat a dead horse, and let's look on to the game that's on every Bengals fan's mind. Goodness, if I could talk. Not just because it's the current week, but because it's a game against a team that every Bengals fan hates to the core of their being, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bengals hate the Steelers so much, I saw a poll not too long ago where people talking about, like, would you rather the Bengals make a wild card spot or beat the Steelers? More people said beat the Steelers. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather make the playoffs because then you have a chance to win a Super Bowl. But the fact is people hate the Steelers so much they'd rather just beat the Steelers. So that should tell you something about how much Bengals fans despise Pittsburgh. But coming into the Steelers game this week, I think the key to this game is going to be how the defense can hold off Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers offense. Nick, what are your thoughts?
Just to add on the hate of the Steelers, I was hearing the old Northern Kentucky case, and I was listening to WEBN 102.7 on the FM channels. That's radio for anybody who doesn't listen to real radio. And Joe Walters was talking, and if you don't know who Joe Walters is, just Google him. He's fantastic guy. He was talking about just the rivalry in the locker room. You learned about it. You hated the other team, and you weren't even friends with them because you hated them. They played for the Steelers, and you hated them because they played for the Steelers. But okay, going on based off what I think Bengals need to do. The defense needs to get 3 and outs. They need to stop the run. They need to close up the middle, and contain on the outside. Quite frankly, I think we were talking about this earlier that the dive plays are just going crazy. But I'll let you get into that. Need to have 3 and outs. We need to be able to slow the run down, and we need to put pressure on Big Ben. We know he can make those lucky passes because he's the luckiest son of a mother you can freaking find. But still, we need to keep that pressure on him. Always have something in the back of his mind thinking that he's going to get creamed on this play. Every play. Offense, we need to utilize Joe Mixon. Get him running the ball. Get him play action. Get him on sweeps. Get him on dives. Get him on zone reads. Get Joe Mixon involved. Because like you saw this past week in Cleveland, Sorry, I'm going to bring up Cleveland again. But just like you saw, when you have a good run offense, the pass offense opens up. You have to account for both the run and the pass on all the downs if you can run the ball. So that's what the Bengals need to do. They need to be able to run the ball and then pass the ball. And then fake the run and then pass the ball. And then if they want to run a draw, then they can run draw plays because then they got to account for the pass play because you got A.J. Green, Josh Malone, Tyler Kroft, Boyd, Coors, whoever, Erickson out there that can catch the ball. So it's all about spreading the wealth. I don't want to go too far into it, but that's how all these successful quarterbacks do it. Brett Favre shared the wealth. Freaking Tom Brady shared the wealth. I mean, seriously, that's where Dalton needs to step in. He's got the weapons, use them.
See, I'm going to start off with the defense as well. And like you talked about, something that's just bugged me all season is how the Bengals are letting people just run all over them. It's ridiculous. A dive play against the horrible winless Browns should not go for 10 to 12 yards. So that defensive line needs to step up and start stuffing the hole, or Le'Veon Bell's going to have a field day against him. That's the guy you got to shut down first and foremost is Le'Veon Bell, because he pretty much owned the second half of the first game against the Steelers. And if you let him get going, it's going to be a long day. They can just get a lead and just sit back and run the clock out, just like they did last game. So you got to stop him. You got to put pressure on Ben Roethlisberger to make him make mistakes, because when he gets pressured, he has a tendency to just start throwing the ball willy-nilly to different places. So get pressure on him, get more 3-and-outs, shut down Antonio Brown, which I know I'd actually put William Jackson the third on him. I think he's been the most athletic corner we've had this season, so put him out there and let him have a try. Couldn't be any worse than what Jacob Patrick's been getting burned all season. So if the defense shows up, does those things we talked about, and they're not going to stop the Steelers completely. They're not going to keep them out of the end zone the whole game. They're not going to prevent them from scoring, but you just need to prevent them from scoring too much. So slow them down, keep them under 20 points, give your team a chance to win. And on offense, like I said, I'm not going to try to echo too much of what you said. But the big thing that they need to do is make quick scores. I know that maybe people say, we got to control the clock, keep the pace of the game, have the ball for a long time. This team can't do that. Against the Steelers, they just do not have the ability to have slow, methodical drives, in my opinion. I know they had a couple in the first game. I just don't see that being the way they beat the Steelers, because obviously they didn't beat them the first time they played them. So they need to get some deep balls, get some big screens like what they had against the Browns twice this year. But, get those big plays that just, create something going on. You have to put yourself in really good positions to be successful. The defense needs to come up with takeaways and give the offense some short fields. Takeaways and big plays is how the Bengals can beat the Steelers, and that's exactly what they need to do. But, we'll get into our predictions of the game here in a little while, but let's go optimistic, pessimistic here. So, Nick, I'm going to let you be the optimist. If the Bengals beat the Steelers, how does the rest of the season go?
Well, rest.
Check, Mike.
Yeah, I totally lost it. Whatever. So we beat the Steelers. Optimistic. That puts us 6-6. Beat the Bears. I don't think that's too far of a stretch. Then we got 7-6. We're gonna lose to the Vikings. So 7-7. I don't think it's too far fetched to think that we beat the Lions while we're at home. So we got 8-7, and then we need to beat the Ravens. The two must wins are the Steelers and the Ravens. If we can beat the Ravens, the Lions, the Bears, and the Steelers, we'll be 9-7. 9-7. God, I didn't think I'd be able to say that at the beginning of the season. Jesus. 9-7. Optimistically, and I think that the wild card is going to be in our hand. I don't think that there's anybody that would say any different. if we can beat the Steelers, the Bears, the Lions, and the Ravens. I think that we got the wild card at that point. And then the Bengals are playoff bound. Now, who we play in the playoffs, that'd be a different story. And just hope to God that it's somebody other than the Steelers in the first round and somebody other than the Texans. And hopefully we never play at home in the playoffs, because obviously playing at home for the Bengals is bad juju. But I digress. Casey, you get to be pessimistic. Tell us your, I don't know, rant.
So right up my alley, pessimism. Here we go. So if the Bengals lose to the Steelers, that puts them at 5-7. That's not a good way to be at this point in the season going into December. So if the Bengals, let's say so they lose to Pittsburgh, they should beat the Bears. I can't even be pessimistic. Like if we lose to the Bears, I just may not watch the rest of the season because that's a should win game, like very much should win game. If they lose to Pittsburgh, I don't think they're gonna beat Minnesota, to be honest with you, and that's in Minnesota. Can it happen? It could, but I'm the pessimistic guy, so I'm going to say they don't beat Minnesota. The Lions is really a game that even if you're looking at this optimistically, let's say they just do great and, they beat the Steelers and they beat the Bears, lose to the Vikings, but it's a close game, and everybody's like, okay, we just need to win these two, and we got it. The Lions is a game I wouldn't sleep on. They're a good team. Their record doesn't reflect that they're good. They've had really good streaks. They've had really bad streaks, but they're a good team, so don't sleep on the Lions. But I think the Bengals will beat them. Then they'll end up going to Baltimore and winning just because it doesn't matter at that point because they'll be 8-8, and the two wild card teams will at least be 9-7. So the Bengals aren't going to make the wild card if they lose to Pittsburgh, in my personal opinion. Or else they're going to have to run the table. And so you got to beat 3 NFC North teams and the Ravens at home. Or in Baltimore, not at home. So be the Ravens at their home in Baltimore. I'm not sure the Bengals can do that. But that's going to get us closer into our predictions for this week. So, Nick, what do you got for the score?
Honestly, I don't know. This is a whim. I'm going out on a whim here. I mean, I'm going to call it a defensive struggle. And I'm going to say 17-14. And it's a Monday night game. Who do I put on top? Okay. I'm going to be pessimistic and say Steelers 17-14 over the Bengals because it's Monday night.
Man, you stole my line. I was going to be the pessimistic guy, and I'm still going to be the pessimistic guy. I said Monday night, Dalton doesn't do well under the big crowd and the lights, and it's Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. And I'd have to look up the last time the Bengals beat Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. It's been a while. So yeah, I'm going 24-13 Steelers. I think the Bengals will collapse near the end of the game, give up another touchdown, and just, let it be an embarrassing. We're going to pull whatever hair we have left out, and just it's going to be a heartbreaking loss. But I'm hoping that the Bengals could win. And if the Bengals win, it's going to be 13-10 Bengals. That's my optimistic one. But I'm going to stick with my pessimistic one as my real guess there and say 24-13 Steelers. Nick, you got any final thoughts?
My final thoughts is I hope that the Bengals prove me wrong, and I hope that the Bengals defense provides themselves with some 3-and-outs and gives themselves a break. Because God knows they need it.
Well, my final thoughts is, let's say optimism does win out here and the Bengals, beat the Steelers, make the playoff. They won't play the Steelers in the first round because they're pretty much guaranteed to win the division, get number 1 or 2 seed from what I can see. But let's say the Bengals win their wild card game somehow. Cincinnati goes crazy. Everybody's just excited to win. But then they go to Pittsburgh. Can they get revenge in Pittsburgh? I know that's pie in the sky, way off in the future. But I think that would be an interesting scenario for the Bengals to beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs. But that's going to wrap it up for us this week on Talking Bengals. Check us out on Buzzsprout, iTunes, Google Play, if I can remember what things are called. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Talking Bengals. Hopefully next week when we talk, we are just ecstatic about a huge Bengals victory. Hoo-day.
Hoo-day.